Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. At the present time, the industrialized nations of the world are all cultivating the same culture, consumer culture. Consumer. Diametrically opposed, the opposite is the Vedic culture, or Krishna, service to Krishna, the life of all that lives, Krishna. At the present time, in the Kali Yuga, and all the nations are cultivating this consumerism. And the whole thing is dying because it's like a disease. It's like a disease, if there's a dead body, so many creatures come to feast on it. Even if it's not dead yet, it's just dying and wounded, and all its vital fluids are streaming out from wherever. It's just dying. And all these different creatures come to feast on it. Dinner is served. So that's where this consumerism goes. And people are becoming more and more aware that this is not a sustainable culture. So Krishna is so kind. Hare Krishna, Krishna is so kind. He says when this kind of thing happens, in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, he comes to reestablish religious principles, to maintain a healthy culture, a culture headed in his direction. It's just consumerism. So when we're reading from the Vedas, which is the healthy culture, headed toward Krishna, it sounds fantastic to us. Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, and because society and the world, it was a different culture. It wasn't consumerism. When people wanted to consume, they made offerings and sacrifices to the demigods, and they asked for things. So there's a certain amount of protection there. They didn't just plunder. They went through the proper channels to try and satisfy their consumerisms. It's sanctioned. There's a certain amount of protection there. You had to ask permission. You didn't just go in and consume. So we're at the point now where practically anything goes in this world situation today. That's why, actually, when Prabhupada was leaving, his mission having been completed, he apologized. He said, if I've done anything wrong, I've accepted too many unqualified disciples. If I've done anything wrong, I accepted too many unqualified disciples. Hare Krishna. I love that cuckoo clock. I chant at the top of the hour. I'm going to wait a couple minutes because I want to follow this, where this is going. He said, I accepted too many unqualified disciples. And then he said, well, what could I do? It's an emergency. It was an emergency. What could I do? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So I just read a little bit more from Krishna book. Another, what a healthy culture was like. Healthy culture before the Kali Yuga set in. Their activities, and then right around the appearance of Krishna, at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, made his appearance. And then later appeared again, several thousand years later, as his own devotee to show and demonstrate and to give love of God in the middle of the Kali Yuga. So here, this is chapter, whatever, 8? Yeah, Vision of the Universal Form. Krishna's birthday ceremony has gone on, and Vasudeva has sent his astrologer, Gargamuni, to do his readings for the future of the child and to understand his past. And they decided to have the name ceremony done quietly. They didn't want to attract the attention of Kamsa, who was trying to kill all the children, hoping one of them would be Krishna. When Gargamuni was so eagerly requested by Nanda Maharaj, he performed the name-giving ceremony as secretly as possible in the cowshed of Nanda Maharaj. He informed Nanda Maharaj that Balaram, the son of Rohini, would be very pleasing to his family members and relatives, and therefore would be called Ram. In the future, he would be extraordinarily strong, and therefore would be called Balaram. Gargamuni said further, quote, because your family and the family of the Yadus are so intimately connected and attracted, therefore his name will also be Shankarshan. End quote. This means that Gargamuni awarded 3 names to the son of Rohini, namely Balaram, Shankarshan, and Baladev. But he carefully did not disclose the fact that Balaram also appeared in the womb of Devaki and was subsequently transferred to the womb of Rohini. Krishna and Balaram are real brothers, being originally the sons of Devaki. Gargamuni then informed Nanda Maharaj, quote, as far as the other boy is concerned, this child has taken different bodily complexions in different yugas, millennia. First of all, he assumed the color white. Then he assumed the color red. Then the color yellow. And now he has assumed the color black. Besides that, he was formerly the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, his name should be Vasudeva as well as Krishna. Some people will call him Krishna, and some will call him Vasudeva. But one thing you must know, this son has had many, many other names and activities due to his different pastimes. Gargamuni gave Nanda Maharaj a further hint that his son will also be called Giridhari because of his uncommon pastimes of lifting Govardhan Hill. Since he could understand everything, past and future, he said, I know everything about his activities and name, but others do not know. This child will be very pleasing to all the cowherd men and cows, being very popular in Vrindavan. He will be the cause of all good fortune for you. Because of his presence, you will overcome all kinds of material calamities, despite opposing elements. Krishna. So at that time, Krishna appeared as a human being, and he performed these different activities. For us now, Krishna is also here. Krishna is in his holy name. He is his holy name. He is also incarnated as Archavigraha, the deity in the temple. Hare Krishna. Gargamuni continued to say, quote, my dear king of Raj, in his previous birth, this child many times protected righteous persons from the hands of rogues and thieves when there was political disruption. Your child is so powerful that anyone who will become a devotee of your boy will never be troubled by enemies. Just as demigods are always protected by Lord Vishnu, so the devotees of your child will always be protected by Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This child will grow in power, beauty, opulence, in everything, on the level of Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, I would advise you protect him very carefully, that he may grow without disturbance. End quote. Gargamuni further informed Nanda Maharaj that because he was a great devotee of Narayan, Lord Narayan gave a son who is equal to him. Okay, that because Nanda Maharaj was a great devotee of Narayan, Narayan gave him a son who was equal to him. At the same time, he indicated, quote, your son will be disturbed by many demons, so be careful, protect him, end quote. In this way, Gargamuni convinced Nanda Maharaj that Narayan himself had become his son. In various ways, he described the transcendental qualities of his son. After giving this information, Gargamuni returned to his home. Nanda Maharaj began to think of himself as the most fortunate person. He was very satisfied to be benedicted in this way. A short time after this incident, both Balaram and Krishna began to crawl on their hands and knees. When they were crawling like that, they pleased their mothers. The bells tied to their waist and ankles sounded fascinating, and they would move around very pleasingly. Sometimes, just like ordinary children, they would be frightened by others and would immediately hurry to their mothers for protection. Sometimes they would fall into the clay in Madhur Vrindavan and would approach their mothers smeared with clay and saffron. They were actually smeared with saffron and sandalwood pulp by their mothers, but due to crawling over muddy clay, they would simultaneously smear their bodies with clay. As soon as they would come crawling to their mothers, Yasoda and Rohini would take them on their laps, and covering the lower portion of their saris, allow them to suck their breast. When the babies were sucking the breast, the mothers would see small teeth coming in. Thus, their joy would be intensified to see their children grow. Sometimes, the naughty babies would crawl up to the cowshed, catch the tail of a calf, and stand up. The calves, being disturbed, would immediately begin running here and there, and the children would be dragged over clay and cow dung. To see this fun, Yasoda and Rohini would call all their neighboring friends, the gopis. Upon seeing these childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna, the gopis would be merged in transcendental bliss. In their enjoyment, they would laugh very loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Time to chant japa. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare